Sorry for doing two four favorites in a row with Parasite, but I already started working on this one by the time I realized, and it's been a busy week. Your four favorites are The Hunt, Parasite, Forgotten, and All About Lily Chou-Chou. And I have no idea what I'm doing because your Letterboxd curve looks like this. So here goes nothing, I guess. Confessions is a psychological thriller like Forgotten. Like Parasite, there's a shift that happens at some point during the film, but in this one, it's not a genre shift, but more of a shift in the story structure and perspectives. And this movie is about a teacher like The Hunt, but it's also a Japanese film about junior high students like All About Lily Chou-Chou, and it explores a lot of similar themes to your favorites, but I feel like I can't delve too deeply into the specifics because of spoilers. Shoplifters like Parasite is about a family living in poverty that engages in criminal activity as a way to get by, except in this film the crime is theft instead of conning people. Like The Hunt, it explores how the system fails vulnerable people. Like Forgotten, it involves hidden truths about a family that are eventually revealed. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, it's a Japanese film about alienation and connection. I compared this movie to Parasite a lot, and it's kind of like Parasite if it had the more gentle, meditative tone of All About Lily Chou-Chou. Memories of Murder is from the director of Parasite and features the same lead actor. And like Forgotten, it's a South Korean thriller. Like The Hunt, there's this idea of assuming guilt based on suspicion rather than evidence, because early in this film, a detective coerces a confession out of a suspect. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, there's this sort of underlying feeling of dread and melancholy. And while I'm at it, another film from the same director that I think you'd enjoy is Mother. This film follows a mother whose son is accused of murder, so she tries to find the real killer, which feels sort of comparable to The Hunt in the sense that a character has been accused of committing an atrocious crime and there's this desperate feeling of trying to prove their innocence. Like Forgotten, it feels as though we can't trust the character's memories or perception of reality, so we don't know what to believe until the truth is revealed. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, it feels kind of bleak and haunting in its depiction of youth and community. Burning is another South Korean thriller like Parasite and Forgotten. It also has that class divide like Parasite and a dreamlike sense of ambiguity like Forgotten. Like The Hunt, there's this frustrating feeling where the protagonist is struggling to convince people to believe him. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, it's a bit of a slow burn that's got this sort of melancholic, meditative tone and a feeling of alienation. Speaking of which, Peppermint Candy is also from the director of Burning, and I want to recommend that one as well. So it's another South Korean film like Parasite and Forgotten. Like The Hunt, it depicts how one man's life gradually falls apart, except in this film it's shown in reverse. And because it's told in reverse, it feels similar to Forgotten in the sense that the truth about what really happened is eventually revealed to the audience. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, it's about loss of innocence. Tokyo Sonata, like Parasite, is about family and financial struggles. Like The Hunt, there's a breakdown of trust that gets increasingly out of hand and destroys the protagonist's relationships, but for very different reasons, because in this film, a husband and father loses his job and tries to keep it a secret from his family. Speaking of which, there's a family secret of sorts in Forgotten, and the family in this film is keeping some secrets of their own. And like All About Lily Chou-Chou, there's this feeling of existential dread and melancholy, and also one of the younger characters is passionate about music. The Wailing is a South Korean thriller like Parasite and Forgotten, and like The Hunt, it shows how communities can turn against individuals based on suspicions or accusations without any evidence, although the events that follow are extremely different. Sleep is another South Korean thriller that's also a bit of a black comedy like Parasite, and one of the actors from Parasite is in it. And like Forgotten, there's this unreliable perception of reality and memory. Since you like The Hunt, another film that explores the repercussions of a young girl spreading misinformation about a teacher is The Children's Hour. You didn't have another round marked as watched, and I think that's worth checking out, especially since it's from the same director, star, and screenwriters of The Hunt, and coincidentally, Mads Mikkelsen plays a teacher in this one too. A Separation came to mind because like The Hunt, it explores how lies can escalate and cause irreparable damage. In a Lonely Place also came to mind because like The Hunt, it depicts the consequences of someone being accused of committing a crime they didn't commit and how their loved ones start to have doubts and suspicions grow, and again, just this damage that can't be undone. The combination of Forgotten's twisty narrative that plays with our perception of reality and All About Lily Chou-Chou's teen angst makes me think you'd like Donnie Darko. Forgotten reminds me a lot of Dogra Magra, especially this idea of someone having no memory of something and questioning their sanity. I also think you might like Angel Dust because like Forgotten, it feels like trying to piece together a puzzle and it involves memory and childhood trauma. There's something about the feeling of loneliness and the melancholic atmosphere of All About Lily Chou-Chou that makes me think you'd like A Bride for Rip Van Winkle, Last Life in the Universe, and Tony Takatani. But the bullying aspect of All About Lily Chou-Chou makes me want to recommend A Silent Voice. And another Japanese film about disaffected youth that I think you'd like since you like All About Lily Chou-Chou is Blue Spring.